Hello students. Now today I am going to talk about the another important topic for the mains, that is accessibility and the use policy. The question arises that why we are talking about the data accessibility and its use. Then we will see that what are the principles on which this policy has been set up. Thirdly, we will have to see that what are the challenges which we can see once the policy is implemented. So these are the three basic things we will have to understand whenever you are writing any answer on the use of the data. But before that, I just want to mention that this data accessibility and the use policy is called as government technology 3.0. So the question automatically arises that what was 1.0 and what was government technical 2.0. So in 1.0, you can go back to 1990s whenever we are computerizing, or you can say computerization of all the manual processes. So at that time, it was being said that this is the first intervention of the government in the digital space. Then the government technological part 2 is being said as whenever we have adopted e-governance 2.0. This is just one example of the digitization from end to end. So therefore we talk about e-Kranti whenever we talk about the seamless integration of the data. We say it that we have created a digital platform where there is an end-to-end linkages on the space, that is the digital space. The third is called as government technology 3.0, and if you will see the central part of data accessibility and the use policy, then this is called as open data. Open data. So we will see that what was the necessity of having the open data. The word itself gives a reflection that open data means that the data can be used by any party, that is the public or the private party. But whenever we are talking about the open data, it comes with certain challenges, and therefore we need any framework from the government that is called as governance framework. Along with this, there must be a collaboration between the private party, citizens and the government, so that the data which is being collected can be used for the public good. So this is the idea of data accessibility and the use policy. Now we will see that why this policy have been documented. So the very first thing is, whenever you will see the collection of the data, it is rising exponentially. Whether it is the data collected from the government, that is from the public space, or from the private space like Uber, Ola, Swiggy, Zomato, then the number of the data is increasing day by day. And whenever we are talking about that the data is increasing exponentially, along with this the challenges automatically comes, that is its security, and therefore we need some governance framework. And therefore in this context, this policy has been documented. The second is, we are always talking about the digital economy, and whenever we aspire for 5 trillion of economy, the digital economy is one of the key factors. So again, whenever we are talking about the economy in the terms of the digital aspect, then we must have certain policy which can be used by public or by the private party. Then this policy is talking about licensing framework, that we must have some framework to grant the license so that the data which is being collected can be used effectively. And who can use this? For that also we must have certain framework for the licensing. So these are the reasons that this policy has been documented. The third reason you can say that we will have to create the data skill and data culture in India. Data culture in India. This is the reason that this policy has been documented. Now we will see that what are the benefits. Benefits is basically with respect to the idea of having the knowledge economy. So whenever you will see the vision of Digital India, then it is talking about the knowledge economy. And it is also talking about its social benefits. So whenever the data is open and in public, it can be used for the health purposes, it can be used for the education purposes. It will bring the transparency in the administration because you all already aware about the data. For example, COVID. We don't know that what has been the effect or what is the quantum of the death because of the COVID. But once the data is in the public, you can make the government accountable because of the transparent character of this particular data accessibility and the use policy. Therefore, keeping this in the mind, the government has brought this policy which is based on certain important pillars. So I will say the very first pillar of this particular policy is trust. Trust between the government departments, private sector and the citizen. Then security and privacy by design. It means that whenever you are framing any policy, then it must have the privacy features and the security features in design. Then it is talking about risk management over risk avoidance. So basically, if there is any risk of the data loss and data theft, then how this governance framework is going to tackle that particular problem. This is also one of the pillar of this policy. Okay. Then it is also talking about interoperability of the data. Interoperability simply means that the data from one aspect or data from one stick where you are collecting your data can be used for the another purposes also. There must be interoperability of the data. So this is the pillar of this particular policy. But any policy comes with certain challenges, and this is where the governance lies. That is how to maintain the trade-off between the benefits and the challenges. So now the very first challenge is privacy. So whenever you are talking about the open data, who will be held accountable in case of loss of privacy? Because if you will see the K. Puttaswamy judgment, then it was being said that for constitutionally validity of any policy or any step of the government towards the privacy, there must be law. And if there is no law, then it is very difficult to make the government accountable. And this is policy. So basically, privacy is one of the challenges. Then the second problem is of security. So we all know that cyber security issue or cyber crimes is on rise, and India is considered as on rank 5 in the terms of cyber security challenges. So how this policy is going to address this particular problem is you will have to see that whether this policy is maintaining the fundamental rights granted under Article 21 or how it is maintaining a balance between Article 21 or other social or public benefits of increasing the access to the data and its use. So I will say, for examination perspective, if the question comes in 10 marker on the policy of the government towards the data, then I can say this particular thing or this particular aspect is much more important for you. So this is all about this particular draft data accessibility and the use policy. In the next video again, I will come with another important problem.